the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. I am your host, Joshua, and today's question is, why do some brands explode while some brands just fizzle out? Well, our guest today, I bet, is the exact person. The guest today to answer that question is Ernie Harter. Ernie is a creative fireball of branding expertise who has been igniting businesses and convenience stores for nearly 30 years. 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. After spending 2 years as a concept artist and designer for a national ad agency, Ernie founded Earnburn. I love the name, by the way. A production studio in 1995 that quickly earned a reputation for sparking exciting brand development. His accelerated branding approach, articulated in his book, Your Brand Sucks, is highlighted by his incredibly successful rebranding regional C store chain Maverick Inc., where he led the transformation from the tired old country store brand into an exciting multi-billion-dollar adventure themed brand. In 2018, he left his position of Maverick's executive director of marketing to ignite other brands as a professional speaker and consultant. Ernie loves to draw, wakeboard, exercise, mountain bike, watch movies, eat junk food, and spend time with his family and seven brothers. Ernie, what an introduction, first of all. But more than that, it's the energy right now, the personality, the enthusiasm that's already I can already feel from here. Thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I am stoked to be here, honestly. Listening to the intro, it's like, I never thought I would be a convenience store branding guy. Nobody aspires to be a convenience store branding guy, but there I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because you don't walk down the street and you see a convenience store like, I want to rebrand that convenience store. I think I could do a good job at that. No one does that. No one thinks of that, which is
Yeah.
funny because literally the first question I always ask Ernie is always about origins. Where did this all come from? The journey, because literally the second story, the
Yeah.
name of the show is story. So,
Yeah.
any part of your life, pivotal moments, experiences as a child, have you
Yeah.
always known you were going to rebrand convenience store? What
No. Oh
is the
my gosh.
story of
The
Ernie
be- the
Harter?
story begins with me as an 11-year-old boy
Okay,
with my
please,
all
please.
my brothers.
I already love this. I already love this. Seven brothers. Okay, go,
Right.
go, go.
So I've got all these brothers. I'm 11 years old. My mom finally carries out her threat of taking the television
Oh.
and putting it in the garage because she calls it the idiot box because we all turn into idiots every time we
Mm-hmm,
turn on the TV, right?
mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
kind of like that with any digital device nowadays. But with no television to entertain an 11-year-old kid, I poured my interest, my time, my energy into a hobby I
Oh,
had, which was drawing.
okay. Wow.
And I became a really good artist. I had a kind of a knack for it, and I every waking hour was spent drawing. Well, that led to, you know, high school where I took every elective class was drawing. I went into college and I wanted to
Wow.
be an animator, an illustrator. And my first job out of college was at an ad agency. And
Oh.
it was there that I kind of broke the surface to what branding is.
Mm.
Like, and 2 years later, I started my own company as a creative production
Mm-hmm,
expert. So I
mm-hmm,
would produce marketing materials, websites, animated cartoons,
mm-hmm,
for television commercials,
mm-hmm,
um, designs, print designs, interactive designs. But
mm-hmm.
what I would find is that it was much easier and much more compelling for a client to make sure that all of their marketing materials had a common thread to them, that they had consistency. They built on each other. And more important than just colors, logos, fonts, I wanted emotion. I wanted people to feel it. And so that's where my 11-year-old little boy watching TV or not watching TV is where my story began.
Wow. Well, of course, you had to find ways to entertain yourself. You had to find ways to put together. And what happened was creativity. You were
Yeah.
able to tap into that creativity, and now
Yeah.
you are tapping into other individuals and companies' creativity in order
Yeah.
to express their own brand. And it's quite a journey. Of course, you said you started as your own production company, creative production company. This is still Earn Burn. Is that correct?
Yeah. I started as Earn Burn. And that name, by the way, you mentioned, that's a cool name. I am an identical twin brother. Okay.
Of
He and
course you
I
do.
are like mirror images. Okay. But he kind of keeps a little bit of a beard. He's a
Okay.
marriage and family therapist. But his
Oh.
nickname for me in high school was Earn
Mhm.
Burn.
Wow.
So everybody called me Earn Burn. And so when I started
Mhm.
my company, I thought, why don't I just call it Earn Burn?
Yeah. Wow. 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 You were right there and there. You didn't have to think of a company name. It's already you. It's
Yeah.
totally your brand, already on point. Of course,
Yeah.
thanks to your identical twin brother. I mean, of course, you have a twin brother, right? Like, come on. Um, uh, Ernie, talk to us a little about a key moments or anything, because from your production at Earnburn,
Yeah.
you started it yourself, and you
Yeah.
know all that you did print design, website, and all that. Talk to us some key moments in the journey from Earnburn
Okay.
to Maverick to
Okay.
rebranding
Awesome.
Maverick,
Yeah.
because
Awesome.
a lot
Awesome.
must have happened between that. Let us know.
So when I started my company, it was just me. And I was really good at drawing. But
Mhm.
starting a company as an artist,
Right.
that is a recipe for disaster.
Mhm.
I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a business
Mhm.
guy, I'm a really
Mhm.
good artist. So I
Mhm.
had to learn the expensive lessons of taxes, of business management, business organization, business
Mhm.
strategy. But
Mhm.
I got super excited about business as much as I was about drawing. And so I grew
Wow.
my business. Um,
Interesting.
my first my first 3 months
Okay.
at my own company, I had a salary before that was
Mhm.
really good. I made double my salary in 3 months working for myself,
Wow.
which was
Wow.
like, this was awesome. Every year, I doubled the size of my business for like,
Yes.
so 4 years until I had 8 people. We're
Mhm.
doing really well. But the
Mhm.
stresses of business now started to build. Because like I
Of
said, I'm not a
course.
business, I'm an art guy and I
Mhm.
love the art stuff. And so I would be working on creative stuff all day. And at night, I'd be working on the business stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but the kind of a pivotal moment for me was, okay, I had 8 people. This is 2001.
Mhm.
And we were doing a lot of like really creative, really exciting marketing
Mhm.
materials, TV
Mhm.
commercials, radio commercials,
Mhm.
website design. And one of our clients was a broadcaster, or not a
Right.
broadcast. They bought media. They're a media buyer, and they would buy what's called fragment media. It's like the
Okay.
cheapest. It's the stuff that nobody buys, like 3 in the morning,
Right.
2 in the morning.
Mhm.
Nobody's buying that stuff.
Mhm.
But Maverick, this convenience store chain, was looking for like high volume, low cost
Right.
exposure for their marketing, and they
Hmm.
needed a TV commercial.
Okay.
And then they said, Ernie's really good at coming up with creative ideas for TV. I sat
Interesting.
down with this. He was the third generation owner of Maverick. His name's
Mhm.
Brad Call. Brad, totally cool guy.
Mhm.
At the
Mhm.
time, Maverick was well known for a country store theme,
Right.
complete with Stetson wearing cowboy with a mustache, and
Mhm.
the colors were brown and gold
Mhm.
or an orange. Uh, they had like
Mhm.
covered wagons,
Uh-huh.
horseback riders,
Uh-huh.
a whole saloon thing.
Mhm.
And he was like, I don't want anything to do with this cowboy western brand. It's old, it's
Okay.
tired, we want to
Right.
do something new.
Uh-huh.
But he was
Uh-huh.
he was frustrated because he felt like because the brand started as like this country western store, he thought the core of the brand was country western, and he didn't know he wanted to create ad content that had nothing to do with Cowboy West, but just had the logo on it. Do fun stuff. And I said, well, the problem, if you keep doing ads like that, people aren't going to connect your ads with your business. And so he said, well, what do you think we should do? And I said, let's take a look and see if there's a better way for us to express your brand. Maybe your brand isn't Cowboy West.
Exactly.
Isn't like this Old West look. And so we did some research. We interviewed customers. There's 8 of us, and it was like totally low tech. We didn't use SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics or anything like that. It was just like man on the street talking to people. And what we found is that convenience store customers, gas station customers, they don't like going to a gas station. It's not like the highlight of their day, right? It's like it's a necessity. I have to go buy gas today. I'm out of gas.
It's a chore.
It's a chore. But what we've discovered is that people had a completely different attitude about gas stations and convenience stores when they associated it with a trip to their favorite adventure, like going skiing or camping or hiking. They would give themselves permission to be able to buy the goodies, the drinks, the snacks, the beer, the whatever, and had this really cool experience with a convenience store. And so we thought, what if we tapped into that? What if we became Adventure's first stop? And so we presented that to Brad, and he fell in love with it. And he had the financial resources and the position to pour gasoline on that fire, and it took off.
Wow. And it's quite literal gasoline on that fire, having all those, having all that, the gas stop, basically, quite literally. Yeah. First of all, I love the tagline that you guys came up with, Adventure's First Stop, because, I mean, that's quite the boom, like quite the rebrand, and people get it right away. And then you'd be like, oh, very cool. So I'm not just coming here for gas. I'm also coming here for a bit of adventure. So I love that. I love that whole concept behind that. It's quite interesting.
And Josh, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that I think most people get branding wrong is they start with like a logo and a color and like, a design that's different. Think about like if you have a consumer packaged good, it's the package, it's the label. If it's a software, it's the website, it's the UX. But what people forget is that buying is an emotional thing. We need a story, and I love that the title in your podcast, the story of the week. Stories are what get people moved. Yes. And so if there's not a story behind the brand, and if there's not a way for me to see myself in that story, then it's just like in the gas station world. Do I buy gasoline from a yellow and red logo store like Shell or Phillips 66 or BP or they're all the same except they have a different colored logo. Like what makes me choose one over the other? I don't have a story. There's no personality.
Exactly. And I love that, by the way. Thank you for pointing that out. I love stories. I mean, it's the fabric of humanity, it's the fabric of who we are. Our society is literally built on stories. But I love how you connected that with branding, because we need to be able to find ourselves in that brand, because somehow relate that. And you created that with Maverick, and it's what now? It's massive. It's a massive.
It's huge.
Multi-billion company right now. The transformation from the adventure themed brand is quite legendary. It's just stuff of legend. It's quite, what were, first of all, the biggest challenges and the biggest breakthroughs that you encountered during the rebranding process?
The biggest challenge was, think about, you've got 100, I think at the time Maverick had 127 stores.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Maybe it was fewer than that, because when I end up getting hired, Maverick hired me full time 9 years later after
Wow.
starting it. And so I think when I got hired, it was like 127 stores. So at the time, there could have been like 100 stores.
Mhm.
But getting all of the branding, that thematic adventure themed brand,
Mhm.
across all the stores took years.
Wow.
That was hard because we didn't really sit down. I mean, I wasn't an executive there. I wasn't an employee there. I was just the
Right.
branding guy.
Mhm.
So it was internally their responsibility to take that brand and make sure it was pushed through every
Of
store.
course. Of course.
And when I started working there 9 years later,
Mhm.
there were still stores that had the old country store brand.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
9
So
years later. Oh, what? What
9 years
happened there?
later,
What happened there? Mhm.
I think so my feeling is that uh, they just got so busy growing that they
Interesting.
and the brand was successful, the business successful. It's
The
like,
rest.
yeah, just they were thinking forward and
Mhm.
they weren't looking back at
Right.
stores. So all the
Interesting.
new
Of course.
stores
Of course.
got the brand, but some of the old ones didn't, they were one of the last to get it. So when I
Right.
help people now, I tell people all the time, look, if you're not a brick and mortar
Mhm.
company,
Mhm.
rebranding is a breeze compared to a brick and mortar store.
Of
You
course.
have signage, you have like interior signage, you
Mhm.
have like street signs, all
Mhm.
that stuff that needs to be changed. If you're
Mhm.
a software, dude, clickety click click,
Done.
done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Boom.
Email
Okay.
template changed,
Done.
done.
Templates, everything
So
done.
that was a big
Assets.
challenge.
Yeah, but that's crazy because 127 stores and they got so busy growing that they left all these other stuff like, we forgot that we that still is the old branding or old P. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that, but
Yeah.
it's almost like that's a good problem as well, right? Like, wow, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, they blew up too fast that they forgot all these things and they're great, but I think it's also a good thing that they still went all in into your rebranding, which
Yeah.
was very,
Yeah.
very cool of them. Um,
Yeah.
Ernie, this is something that you talk about in your book. Your book,
Mhm.
Your Brand Sucks, by the way, and it has a provocative title, very provocative
Yeah.
title.
Thanks.
It catches people's eyes, catches the minds, and all. What are the core principles of this branding philosophy of yours? And why do businesses often, not just businesses, but individuals as well, why do they often
Yeah.
overlook it? And why the name, the provocative
Yeah.
name? Talk to us about that.
I wanted to, I was originally thinking like the 7 steps of brand development, but I'm like, oh my gosh, what a yawner
Okay.
that is. Like, and
That
because I
sucks.
originally, yeah, that would suck. That title sucks. But I think what I wanted people to do was when they saw the cover of that book,
Mhm.
I wanted a question to happen in their heads. I wanted people to go,
Okay.
who does this guy think he is? Thinks my brand sucks.
Mhm.
Like who do you, right? The audacity. And then I wanted people to go, does my brand suck? Maybe my brand sucks. And to pick up the book, flip through the pages, and then get a quick sense of the creativity. Because I drew my own pictures in there. So I got to
Oh,
illustrate all these cool little pictures in the book.
okay.
Um, but the process
Mhm.
and the reason most people get branding wrong is the process begins with identifying what I call your brand spark, the catalyst to
Right.
create the story or theme that is unique amongst all your competitors.
Interesting.
Most companies get stuck right there.
Mhm.
They think, here's what they think. I meet with people all the time, and they say, "Well, it's our quality. Our quality sets us apart. It's our service. Our service
Okay.
sets us." And I'm like going, you know what? That is exactly what your competitors are saying.
Right.
And if that's exactly what your competitors are saying, then it's not really a point of difference.
Mhm.
You or another one, it's our people. Our people make
Right.
us different. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that's only true until your competitors hire your people. Now what?
Interesting.
So we have to dig deeper than those important but universal brand qualities. Every company needs to have a high level of service and a high level of quality.
Oh.
But what is it that's going to get your audience's attention
Mhm.
that will make them interested long enough to discover your quality or your service?
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Right.
one of my favorite brands right now, and another thing too that we get stuck on is functionality of product. We are
Right.
so like trapped in functionality of product that we forget the power of brand. What I mean by that is if you're familiar at all with Liquid Death,
Okay.
Liquid
Yeah.
Death
Liquid
is
death.
a
Mhm.
water. The
Mhm.
functionality of Liquid Death is just to hydrate you.
Yep.
Their
Yeah.
brand has nothing to do
Mhm.
with hydration.
Mhm.
It's not like our total dissolved solids and, our water-based compound. Nope. It's all about,
Alkalized.
yeah, it's none of that. It's all about like this attitude, this beer meets energy drink
Yes.
baby. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's attitude, it's irreverence, it's
Mhm.
rock and roll.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what happens is the functionality is inherent, but the brand elevates it into a desirable status. So that
Wow.
now instead of just, oh, I'm thirsty, I need water,
Mhm.
now it's like, I'm thirsty, I need water. But you know what? I want a brand that will reflect my personality. So when I'm holding a can,
Right.
it's a badge and a
Mhm.
sign that tells
Mhm.
everybody else what kind of person I am.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
brands do that. And if you don't have a
Wow.
solid like story or a
Mhm.
personality with your brand, why would anybody wear that as a badge? What I
Mhm.
mean by wearing it as a badge, like buy your product,
Exactly.
consume your
Precisely.
product.
Precisely. And it ties back to what you said that the consumers have to be able to find themselves in that brand. They have to be
Yeah.
able to be proud of it. Like it's a lot like like the common one like Starbucks, right? Like buying a cup of Starbucks and it's just like an
Yep.
elevated status. Like you
Yep.
hey, I guess just got them from Starbucks. But I love that you said you brought up Liquid Death because that brand really blew up. The way they blew up was just like whoa, like, and it's just water, but I love that
Yeah.
it's rock and roll water. It's
Yeah.
perfect. It's a perfect analogy and a perfect sample of what you do. Ernie, when it comes to entrepreneurs and small businesses that are starting
Mhm.
their endeavors, when it comes to branding, like you said, people get stuck on the functionality. People get
Yeah.
stuck on like the colors and looks, and logos and whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah.
If they are looking to ignite their brand, I love the
Mhm.
keyword by the way, ignite their brand. What are some actionable steps that they can start to create building a memorable brand, a strong memorable
Mhm.
brand? If there was one actionable step that you would say to any startup entrepreneurs to do right now or to do every day, what would that be? What would that actionable step be to go
This
towards
is going to
branding?
sound self-gratifying, but
Oh, please.
it is read my book. Like read the book. It really helps break down like what branding really is.
Hmm.
And the book was written to help people build their brand. This is not a philosophy book. It's not a
Hmm.
theory book. It's not a showcase book about what great brands are doing. It's
Hmm.
how do you step by step create a brand? What questions do you ask to create a brand strategy? And
Hmm.
then it leads you down the path of how do I express that? If now I have a brand strategy that looks like
Interesting.
this, how do
Hmm.
I choose the brand assets,
Hmm.
colors, textures, resource, images, all those kinds of things that we see,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
tone.
Hmm.
How do we find those things?
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. The second thing I would say to do is think about branding different.
Okay.
Don't think of branding as a logo. Your
Hmm.
logo is the keyhole through
Okay.
which your brand is seen. They
Okay.
hold up the logo and they have to see the story through that logo. So when
Okay.
they see the logo, everything they know about the brand, all the story about the brand comes through that. And if
Interesting.
your brand is logo deep, when someone looks up to their keyhole, they just see darkness. There's nothing there. So make sure that you have a story, a personality, a theme
Hmm.
that reinforces your product, your service
Hmm.
in and then makes a quick connection to your logo. So people go, oh,
Right. Okay.
when I see this logo, I think this.
Okay, okay. But it's just a keyhole. It's just a way for
Yeah,
people to connect to that logo, or rather to that brand. So it's the
yeah,
logo is really just one aspect of that brand. And
yeah,
if we
yeah,
try to zero that into, we lose all these other stuff that surrounds brands and what makes brands strong. By the way,
yeah.
I wanted to bring that up because the way you talk about your book is like like it goes back to you as a child drawing and just being excited, like, wow, I can publish my own drawings now. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that energy. Um, Ernie, I'd love to give you this opportunity. First of all, where can we find this book? Of course, you have your website,
Yeah.
earnburn.com. Let us know where else are you active on Instagram? Are you
I
active on the
I'm on
socials?
LinkedIn a lot.
Mhm.
LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I do a lot of most of my work is public speaking. I'll go to
Mhm.
conferences with small business owners or entrepreneurs or associations where business owners kind of get together or business executives get together. I'm a really good keynote speaker for that group because I inspire them to what branding can do. Like, if you have a really good brand, what does that do for your marketing materials? What does that do for sales? How does
Mhm.
that how does that help you with focus?
Yes, how does it
And
translate?
because man, I tell you what, as soon as you have a really clear brand strategy, your marketing becomes simple. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Hmm.
It's instead of going, well, what should we do? It's
Hmm.
like, man, we have a very clear direction about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it because we have a very clear brand strategy.
Hmm.
So
Very.
LinkedIn, and then gosh, my website. You can reach out to me on my website. So
Mhm. That's it. There you go. That's the fireball of positive energy himself, the billion-dollar branding guy. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, you need to grab a copy of this book, of this man's book. Your brand sucks, but let's figure out why it does suck and why we can make it better. And to all our
okay,
audience listeners out there, Ernie, it's been great. I love the energy. I love the insight that you provided for us today.
thank you.
One last nugget of wisdom you would like to leave behind to the audience and listeners? Take us home.
You know what? Be kind, everybody. It's a crazy world out there. Be kind. Be a little more patient with people.
Mhm.
We'll make it through this crazy world.
We'll make it through, and this is exactly what we need right now. A lot more kindness.
Mhm.
And Ernie, not only enthusiasm shines, but truly I can feel that the kindness as well. Ernie, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thank you. Well, to all our audience and listeners out there, see you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.